We've been studying the book of Revelation lately, and we came to the end of chapter 13 and to the number 666 and to all the consequences that come with this number, and we kind of opened the topic, and I was considering, should I take it for just for the Bible study, or should I take it for a worship service? And I got my answer when I went to worship at the Zaoksky Church this morning, and Pastor Zaitsev, who is president of the Bible Research Institute affiliation in Russia, and who works closely with the Bible Research Institute at the General Conference, he's been preaching on these 3 verses. He's been preaching on the number of the beast, on the number 666, and I've been inspired that that's would be God's will for me to touch upon this very, very important and sensitive topic, not just at our Bible studies, but at the worship service. Take it to the worship service. Usually you see such a deep theological topics we reserve for, select few for the Bible studies. But, today it's been taken to the pulpit by my good friend and colleague here at Zaoksky, and I, as I said, I took it as a sign that we should also touch upon it. And friends, we kind of all been introduced to this theme of 666 one way or another, and of course all of us as Seventh-day Adventists, we are aware of the number of the beasts that we usually associate with papacy and with the titles that the popes were holding during the Middle Ages. It's Vicarius Filii Dei, or the substitute of Jesus Christ. And the summary number of those letters that are in Latin gives you 666, and for many years it's been kind of semi-official interpretation of this text by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. In fact, I don't want to affirm or to question it, also I must tell you, before we even go into this discussion, I must warn you that the current position of the Bible Research Institute, and as the expression of the theological position of Seventh-day Adventists, is seriously questioning the validity of this interpretation, of this association of number 666 with the Pope, with papacy, with Vicarius Filii Dei. In fact, half of the sermon preached by my friend Dr. Zaitsev this morning was about it, was about that we shouldn't be interpreting 666 as associated with Vicarius Filii Dei. And then the other half of the sermon was much more, I would say, insightful and informative, and it was about, and I will share with you this as well, and much more. but so I'll be more concise than my good friend preacher. But friends, I must tell you that I don't give up so easily on Vicarius Filii Dei as the expression of 666. I never affirmed that that was the only fulfillment of this prophecy, that it is the only power, that it is the only institution that could be rightfully associated with this number. I've never done it. But at the same time, I've written a book, The Roman Labyrinth, and in this book, the point that I'm making is the importance of this title and the number associated with this title for the medieval papacy. So it is, to me, it is very, very important topic, and I am very traditional in this understanding. So I'll tell you in front that I still believe that 666 is applicable to the medieval papacy. But I don't think that 666 is only applicable to papacy. I think it has more than one recipient. I think it has more than one meaning. So let's look at some other meanings. Of course, you see, friends, of course, at all times, in all days, the enemy has some representatives, some institutional representatives on this planet in attempt to rule, in attempt to run this place. And this number is not new. I might have told you before about the origin of this number that many historians agree on. And it is Babylonian, so it is not something when Apostle John is conveying this message that comes from Jesus himself about this number 666. He is not referring to a number that would one day appear. He is not referring to a power that one day would prevail. He is referring to the power that's been around for a while, for centuries and centuries, when he was writing the book of Revelation. It's interesting that this morning Pastor Zaitsev, as he was exploring this topic of the history of 666, he mentioned that according to some Seventh-day Adventist scholars, and then he continued with what I will now present you. And by those Seventh-day Adventist scholars, he meant me and my research and my book on the history of this number, on the Babylonian origin of this number. You know, friends, that in the Babylonian tradition, it was a religious tradition that would focus on worshiping the astrological powers, the sun and the moon and the stars, and it came with some advantages and some disadvantages. The disadvantage of it is, of course, worshipping anything that is not God is not acceptable, as we know. But at the same time, as they were exploring the starry sky, as they were exploring the universe, they discovered lots of astronomical laws that we still use. They were very observant, and one particular they applied it not only to theology but also to everyday practice. For instance, we have a circle divided by 360 degrees. That comes from Babylonian system of counting heavens, the heavenly circle. They believed that the heaven is divided into 12 portions, just as our watch is divided into 12 hours, into 12 portions, and it all comes from Babylonian tradition. So friends, it's the fact that something comes from Babylon doesn't necessarily mean that it is evil, that it is bad. It's just we have to learn to discern, as in everything. That's why we keep on studying. That's why we submerge ourselves into the Word of God with prayer and come into study as a church to learn to discern. So particularly, they believed that the circle should be divided into 36 subsections, and that was the Babylonian circle, and we still, do our counting by 360 degrees. So if you calculate, if you put some simple calculation and add all the numbers from 1 to 36 to each other, then in summary you get 666. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 and so on, and finally plus 36, you get 636. And that's been a Babylonian tradition. So the number 666 was an ultimate expression of the summary of the Babylonian idols, of the Babylonian gods who are in heaven, who are represented by the sun, by the moon, and by the stars, and the summary number is 666. It is not the number of gods, but it is the number of their religion. It is a number. Take note. It is a number. It is an ID, identifying number of the Babylonian religions. And in many museums around the world, they find those little Babylonian IDs with lots of letters that also have a numerical value. And one interesting fact about those IDs, that they never repeat. The letters and the numbers are always different. They put in different order. But there is one thing that unites them, that they have in common. The summary number is 666. So that comes from Babylonian tradition. So first and foremost, the number 666 represents Babylon, represents idol worshipping, represents the religion of the sky, of the heaven. Not one heavenly host, not God who is one, but the multitude of gods. It's a substitute, it's a fake religion, if you wish. So that's the history of this number. And what Apostle John is claiming, he is claiming on behalf of Jesus, of course, that one day this Babylonian number will make it into the world, into the Christian world. It will make it into the society that is destined to meet the second coming of Jesus Christ. It will dominate in the society at the time that is closest to the coming of Jesus, to the second coming of Jesus. And friends, we have to be. The Bible is practical. The Bible is practical. It has much more to say by this number than that it is Babylonian number. It has some other meanings. And we have to, in our interpretations, we always have to be, in our interpretations of the Bible, in our reading of the New Testament, we always have to interpret the Bible, by using the Bible. We have to refer to the second witness, and the second witness comes from the Bible. So let's turn to the second witness and see where else the Bible refers to this number. And of course you know that. But I will show you something new today, friends, something that you probably don't know. In fact, I wasn't even able to find it on internet. So, and internet has about everything. So, but first let's look at what we know. Where is it that we read about this number 666 in the Bible? In what relation? At what time? Yes, it is in relation to the gold that King Solomon was collecting every year as a tax. In Exodus, in 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 14, we read about 666 talents of gold that was customary gathered by by the officers of Solomon into his income, as his tax income. And also in the Second Chronicles, chapter 9, verse 13, we read repeat, because it's such an important number. The Bible gives another line of support to it. So you have a witness from 1 Kings 10:14, and you have a witness from 2 Chronicles 9:13. So the number, so what is associated with the number 666 in the Bible previously is gold, or the money. That's an essence, if you wish, of 666. As we read about the limits that the beast is trying to put on people, as we looking at the kind of control he wants to exercise over people, we find out that no one can buy or sell unless he or she would have this number. So the money is right at the heart of the issue. The Bible is very explicit about it. It is the matter of money. It is the matter of controlling the money. It is a way to control people by controlling people's money. You control people's money, you control people's life. And that's, of course, the tool that the beast wouldn't miss. That's, of course, the tool that's been working for centuries. And in our days, it's turning more and more into a cult. It's a real cult of money. You see, in an absence of the true religion, in the society that lost, generally speaking, its faith, the cult of the money is rising. It is inevitable. We are living in a society of consumption. The money is pretty much the idol for most people. That's been the natural choice for Aaron at his time, at the time of Moses' absence, when Moses was with God on that hill. It was the choice of Aaron, who was the high priest, to build the golden calf so that the people would worship this calf. And you see how naturally, how easy it came to people, even to Aaron, even to those people in authorities, to worship that golden calf. He knew what he was doing. He knew that he could get the people, that he could get them dancing around this golden idol. In the last days, Satan is using same technique, only much more sophisticated. He is to control people's funds, people's money. And we'll talk some more how he's gonna do it. The Bible sheds some light on the very mechanics of it. And we will touch upon it in this sermon, but I'm trying to be very short, so most of the discussion I will postpone until tomorrow, so we could, dig into it really deep and see how we can be prepared. But now, friends, there is another instance when the number 666 is being used in the Bible, in the Old Testament. You see, the fact that 666 talents of gold is duplicated in the book of Kings and in the book of Numbers does not provide us yet with the two witnesses. That's pretty much the same witnessing about the same thing. And by the way, friends, King Solomon, although he is an anointed king, and I think I talked to you already about it, how it's working. He is playing an antichrist. Yes, he is representing Christ, and yes, he's God's man. I believe he's going to be in heaven. But at the same time, as the anointed king who fell into apostasy, he represents the apostasy of the last days. He represents the oppressive power that would try to impose its rules of the game in the last days. Solomon, as a great and wise and powerful and rich and anointed king who fell into apostasy, he is a type not only of Jesus, unfortunately, but also of Antichrist. And as we look at the life of Solomon and as we look at the doings of the beast in the last days, we find them parallel. The only difference is that the beast goes high-tech. The beast is much more sophisticated than Solomon. He is using technology, he is using methodology that shouldn't fail, but will fail him. Anyways, what is the other use of this number that we find in the Old Testament, in the Bible? I don't think you can help me on this right away from the top of your head. In fact, it didn't come easily to me, but one day as I was reading Exodus chapter 12, and I've been reading and rereading the book of Exodus quite a few times, something struck me. Let's turn to the book of Exodus chapter 12, verse 37, and you won't see the number 666 in this verse first, but then you will. So Exodus 12:37, it says, "Then the children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Sukkot, about 600,000 men on foot, besides children." That's, friends, the number of people who have passed the age of 20, who are capable of war, who have been counted, those who are on the journey back home from Egypt to the Palestine. That's how many people have, that's how many men, that's how many warriors, how many soldiers have left Egypt for the promised land. 600,000 men on foot, besides children and women. So what? Remember, friends, the trouble of Moses when he was trying to run this society, when he was trying to make peace, when he was trying to judge between people. It comes just a few chapters later, in chapter 18, he runs into this problem of overworking, and here comes his father-in-law, a mysterious father-in-law, who's given him a good advice, a godly advice, you know. And what was that advice? what was that advice? He advised him to some people as the leaders. He advised him to appoint some people to judge between each other. In verse 21, Exodus 18, verse 21, we read, "Moreover, you shall select from all the peoples able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens." You know, friends, if you now count the leaders of Israel, of how many leaders would be nominated by Moses, you know, the leaders of thousands, never mind the smaller leaders, the leaders of tens, those are not very influential leaders. The leaders of thousands and 10,000s and hundreds of thousands, then the number would be 666. That many leaders Moses have chosen to run this nation, to run his people. 666 judges have been nominated over Israel at the time of Exodus. And mind you, the time of Exodus is also pointing to the last days, to the last Exodus, because we are about, you know, to exit for the last time. We are about to receive those plagues that forced Pharaoh to let his people, God's people, go. Not Pharaoh's people, God's people. So 666 rulers, 666 judges. And as we would see from, and it was good advice, friends, you know, there is nothing wrong with such a representative governmental system. It's, you know, I believe it was from God, this advice and such an arrangement of the society. But as you know, sin is so invasive that it perverts every good deal. Every good deal. You know, there is nothing inherently good or bad, you know, in the Bible. There is nothing wrong with the gold, right? There is nothing wrong with the gold. Who made the gold? God. You know, that's his gift to the people. Who, you know, the money, we thank God for the money. We thank God for the gift of money. You know, money are not satanic. They are not evil. You know, that's just how we use them. That's could be good or evil, right? And in the same way with the arrangement of the society, Israel has got, and the Bible is not very explicit about it, you know, it's because it says those who have wisdom, you count the number. You know, you don't need much wisdom to read about something and, you know, it just pops in you, you know. But you need wisdom to find, to calculate this number. And it says, for it is the number of a man. You know, Moses have nominated 666 men to run the society. And it was at the very beginning of this Exodus. And then for the rest of the book, and for the rest of the Pentateuch, those 5 books that Moses wrote, he would always run into in opposition, into a conflict with those men. They would always be against Moses, and they would always be against God. And they would make this journey of God's people very tough on these people. Very tough on these people. They probably meant good, but they ended up in rebellion. They ended up in opposing Moses, who represents Jesus in this story. So, friends, when we find out about the use of this number, the number 666 in the Old Testament, as related to the money and related to the leaders, to the people who are in authority, and we always pray about those people who are in authority. We are always praying about our leaders. We find out that there is a problem there. The problem is not with the money. The problem is not with having a government. The problem is that those great tools that could be used to spread the gospel, that could be used to help poor, they've been used to the very opposite aims. And back to Vicarious Filii Dei. Let's use it just as an example of such an abuse of the power and money and authority that were granted to him. That's what we call, people's factor. That's the number of men. The men, the authorities, the control, the money that the church would focus on. That was the issue. That was the manifestation of this proud spirit, of the spirit of the papacy. That were the oppressive tools that the papacy was using to control people and to make them worship the Pope. But that was just one instance. You see, in this morning sermon, Pastor Zaitsev, he mentioned that if we are to be really honest to the book of Revelation, to the text of this chapter, we must attribute this number to the second beast, to the beast that comes out of the dry land. Of course, every beast would try this number. Every tyrant would try to apply this number. But it is only with the last beast. It is the last beast, friends, who is trying to impose his name and his number and all this upon all the people. That's just it comes with the last beast. Such a strong move that exceeds all the papal attempts to control people. This mark, this number, belongs to the last beast according to the text. And of course we know that the last beast is kind of restoring the image of the previous beast. It's learning from it. But the beasts are not very friendly. The beasts are not very friendly. They compete. He only learns to exceed. He only learns to get more power to himself. And yes, we live, friends, in a society that is run in many ways by the second beast, by the beast that came out as a lamb, seeking for freedom, seeking, providing a refuge for God's people. But slowly, as it was in the case of Solomon, his foreign wives, they did something to him. They perverted his mind. He became greedy. He turned into idol worshipper. And he destroyed, not at his lifetime, but immediately after him, the great kingdom has been destroyed and dismissed. And we live in a society when the second beast is trying to use the same great principles that are hiding behind this number 666 in order to gain a control, in order to dictate its will, in order to make people worship him. This is the power of the money, by controlling the gold, by controlling the money flows, by controlling the funds that people have, from great to small. Everything is now, under control. Every cent you spend is there, and by the authorities, by the people who seem to be democratically elected, as it was at the time of Moses. But as they got to power, they turned into the bitter opposition to Moses and to God's people. That's, friends, the big picture. And to me it is undeniable. As I said, papacy or Vicarius Filii Dei was just, one manifestation of this power as an attempt to control. But the greatest yet conflict, greatest yet attempt to control and to oppress God's people is coming from the second beast, is ahead of us yet. It's not over. Vicarius Filii Dei is not the end of it. It is just the beginning. And now, friends, I would like to briefly turn to, we are almost running out of time. I will just briefly mention it. Of course, what is at the heart of this conflict? What is at the heart of this conflict is worship. Whom do we worship? What the people were required to wear on their forehead and on their right hand, that was the law of God, the Ten Commandments. That symbolizes that what's in our mind and what's in our doing is done in accord with God's law. Jesus died for us breaking that law. God is in love with his law because it is perfect. So that's what we've been given by God. And Satan, of course, he is trying to replace it. He is trying to replace it with his law. You see, God's law is based, 10 commandments are based on 2 commandments. One is love your God, and second one, love your neighbor. And Satan's substitute, Satan's alternative to it is love your money and worship your leaders, or at least follow blindly what's in our mind and what's in our doing. The same was with papacy, same is with the second beast. You know, friends, that's what is at the heart of this trouble. If we want to win, we are to win at this level. We can only win at this level because it is for this that Jesus died, to change us forever, to give us the love to God that cannot be replaced by the love of money, and to give us the love to neighbor that cannot be replaced by anything else, by any other kind of relationship that's been offered and imposed upon us by the beast. This is what is at heart of the problem, of the conflict. If we win at this level, and we win because Christ has already won his victory, all we have to do is just to reach out and to get it, and to not let the satanic deception or satanic substitute to replace those most valuable gains that Jesus gained for us on that old rugged cross. And you know, finally, friends, and I don't want to be critical here, you know, as is that it is also important, and it is also true in many ways that many people believe, and I read a lot about it as I'm been maintaining this discussion with all kinds of people, with believers and unbelievers, but many people now believe that those things that the Bible is talking about as the mark that is put on the forehead and on the right hand are some implants, are some technological devices such as you know, telephone or implant or whatever it might be. And the more I read about, friends, the more I read about it, the more I come to conclusion that Satan would certainly use it. You know, he is using everything. He is using everything to get this control. You know, there've been tens of thousands of people who already got some sorts of brain implant that is capable of adjusting their mood. They can go on the Apple phone and they can adjust their mood, you know, from bad to good. You know, they can excite themselves, especially people who are bipolar. You know, they find it very, very, you know, exciting, very helpful to have such a device that could, you know, help them to maintain their good health, you know, and good, good mood. But you know what? If somebody else goes into the same setting and sets you in a mode of hate, in the mode of depression, in the mode angry, what then? And with those implants that people, you know, hundreds of thousands have gained this implant to their right hand, friends, to use it as their ID. They don't use any cards, they don't use the phone, that's all they need. You just scan your hand and you pay. You scan your palm and the door is open, you know, at your office. You know, you scan it and the door is opening at your door, at your home. You know, that's your ID, that's your wallet, that's your everything. It's reality. It's a reality. You know, it may come to our place next week. You know, you might be offered that. you know, how do we relate to this? Some people say this is the heart of the troubles. This is where Satan is gonna get us. This is how he is really to gain a control over controlling our moods and over controlling our finances, our ideas. You know, they switch you off and you are nobody. You cannot put gas into your car, you cannot pay your rent, you have no name, you have no number even. They can switch you off the system and you're gone. Psh, like a bubble. You burst and you're gone. Satan is certainly going to use every kind of pressure that he can put on you, that he can put on other people in order to make them bow down and worship him and his imposed system. So, but this is instrumental. This is not at the heart of a conflict. This is just like the computer. We are grateful, friends. You know, we are grateful to the Lord for this technology that allows us to communicate, that allows us to worship, that allows us to learn, that allows us to pray for each other, to support each other, that allows us to remain as a body of the church. We are grateful to the Lord for this technology. So there is nothing wrong with technology. There is nothing wrong with the gold. There is nothing wrong with the rulers. But how the technology has been used and how the finances have been used and how the authorities have been ruling, that's the matter of the choice. That's the matter of people's free will. Remember, friends, that as long as we have God and our neighbors in front of us, above gold or other kind of attractions, we have come out as the winners out of this conflict. But to be practical, we have to be wise in everything that is happening in this world. We are not to overestimate our capacities and our powers. We have to be careful at how we use those great technical advancements, those funds that we are given, the time, the blessed time of freedom that we still have on our hands. We are to make our choices, friends. And the last thing, friends, you know, we live at the time when we are isolated from each other, isolated from the most of the world, and sometimes you wonder, how can you reach out to other people? How can you share your faith? Again, friends, technology could be the answer. See, technology could be used to oppress us, and it will be used to do it. And technology could be and will be used to spread the good news. Why do you think, friends, that in the last days every soul on this planet will know the good news? That's going to be because of the technology that is on our hands. That is going to be because we use these electronic devices for God's sake. So there is nothing inherently wrong with technology, with the gold, with the leaders, with all those things that the beast is trying to utilize to his aims. let's by God's grace utilize all those tools, utilize all those numbers for the advancement of His kingdom. You know, I'll just give you one example. In a recent article by Microsoft News, they shared some interesting statistics, and they make this assignment for the coming 2 years. You know, as you read an article, as you read a certain article, or as you watch a certain movie, or some news, nowadays people are leaving comments. And that's what really matters. You know, I've been doing it a lot, you know, since I'm running this ministry, and I have, by the grace of God, this week I got over 43,000 subscribers, and my audience is about 500,000. By the grace of God, you know, every day I'm sharing a new article. Every day I'm sharing a new article on Christianity, on the prophecies, on what's going on in the world, and every day I'm getting hundreds of comments from people all over, you know, mostly unbelievers, or Muslims, or maybe Orthodox people, sometimes Catholics, sometimes evangelicals, but most of the time agnostics, and hundreds, literally hundreds of those comments I'm getting, and some of them are good, some of them are not so good. And I've noticed how people are determined. Many people are, you know, they read an article and then they go to those comments and they see, oh, they are mostly negative, so, you know, let's just forget about it. It must be nonsense, you know. And so, in this recent article by Microsoft News, they say that by the year 2023, by the end of 2023, they expect that up to 80% of all the comments on those news channels, on everything, on TV, on articles, 80% comments will be done by robots, will be done electronically, will be generated electronically. There are companies, they are corporations that have a certain agenda, that have a certain purpose, they are purpose-driven corporations, and they set up the equipment, and sometimes it takes large buildings full of equipments to set up in motion this process, so that the comments to the articles, that the critical comments or approval comments to the article, to the news, would be advancing the interests. So the scientists say that by the year 2024 we'll be so overwhelmed by the artificial intelligence that we will have no choice, that one way or another they will lead us into this or that decision, if not by force, then by this very advanced propaganda, very advanced propaganda. But we have still sometimes, friends, you know, there are many people who watch the news, who read some articles, and they go to the comments, and if they read some testimony, if they find some encouraging news, if they find something that reflects on the biblical perspective on what's going on in the world, it is a testimony for people that you cannot overestimate. That means so much for people. So, friends, you know, I just urge you, if you have time, if you have an access to internet, and apparently you do, get yourself involved into this witnessing before it's too late. Of course, the best witnessing is when you go to the people, when you visit with the people, when you witness to the people that you know, but we are also to witness to the people that we don't know. And God only knows how much difference you can make in their life if you put your comment, if you put your vision, your biblically inspired vision, if you share your biblically inspired vision with a large audience on those news channels, on what's going on in the world, if you remind people of God, if you remind people of His commandments, if you remind people of the second coming of Jesus Christ, there'll be thousands of people who will be reading it, and it will make, by the grace of God and by the working of the Spirit of God, a difference in their life. So that's, if Satan, friends, if Satan is using the technology for advancement of his kingdom, how much more we should be using technology for an advancement of God's kingdom. If we are to be John the Baptists, if we are to run before the Lord, we have to thank God, and that's what we'll start doing right now with our prayer. We'll thank God for technology. We'll thank God for what unites us and for what gives us yet an opportunity to be His faithful witnesses.